Pat and Parnell, are you currently enjoying your lunch? Well, you might want to put that sandwich down right away. Pat and Parnell from Earth 51412 is basically what happens if a horror movie director took the iconic Spider-Man story and dumped it straight into a vat of pure, unadulterated nightmare fuel. During the Edge of Spider-Verse comic storyline, readers got introduced to this deeply disturbed teen who lived with his abusive Uncle Ted. Normal kids like to collect trading cards or play video games in their free time. Pat preferred torturing insects, slicing up small animals, and creeping on his neighbors. Sarah Jane with binoculars like a total weirdo. Then came the fateful trip to Alchemax. Naturally, an illegal gene-splicing spider takes a big bite out of him. You would expect him to get cool powers and start fighting crime, right? Wrong. The bite triggers a disgusting biological mutation that makes him instantly starving. He starts snacking on live mice, but that small appetizer absolutely does not satisfy his weird stomach. Soon enough, he decides to upgrade his menu to actual human beings. His physical body turns into a complete horror show. His jaw splits wide open like a giant predator, and massive black spider legs violently rip through his skin. Uncle Ted becomes his very first human buffet, and Pat just hides the nasty leftovers right inside his bedroom. Shortly after that, a neighborhood bully becomes his next tasty snack without a single shred of remorse. The absolute worst part of this entire story happens when he finally corners Sarah Jane. He bites her neck, but he does not just suck her blood like some discount Dracula. Instead, he implants hundreds of tiny spider eggs directly inside her bloodstream. Gross, right? Suddenly, the multiversal vampire Moreland pops out of nowhere, tears off Patton's legs, and kills him on the spot. At least Sarah Jane gets to save a ton of money on future bug spray. Zombie Spider-Man. What if your friendly neighborhood hero suddenly decides that you look like a delicious walking pork chop? Over on Earth 2149, which everyone calls the Marvel Zombies reality, an alien virus turns the entire planet into a buffet. Zombified Sentry and Ash Williams from Evil Dead show up and bring the absolute end to the world. Spider-Man tries to be heroic, but then an undead Colonel America takes a quick bite out of his arm. That nasty alien virus rewrites his body chemistry instantly. His strong moral code completely vanishes, replaced by a massive craving for raw meat. He swings back home to protect his loved ones, but his brain goes totally blank from the intense hunger. In the single most heartbreaking comic moment ever, Peter completely loses control and eats both Mary Jane Watson and sweet old Aunt May. Shocking? Absolutely. What makes this guy so uniquely awful is that his brain actually keeps working fine after eating. Once his rotting stomach fills up, the heavy hunger pauses for a little bit. That means Peter sits around in total shock, fully aware of the horrible things he just did. He bursts into tears over the chewed bodies of his family, but then his stomach grumbles again. So he immediately goes back out to hunt down more helpless civilians on the street. His life becomes an endless loop of extreme guilt followed by aggressive snacking on innocent people. On top of that, his decaying body keeps falling apart while he swings around the city. Imagine crying about your moral choices while your own leg drops off into a dumpster. Being a superhero really loses its charm when you have to season your best friends before every meal. Spider-Man. Ever wonder what would happen if the spiders actually won the origin story? On Earth 11580, the weird creature known as Spider-Man gives the whole new meaning to the phrase human colony. Young Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy go on a simple field trip to Horizon Labs to see a cool science test by Max Model. The display features a big container filled with thousands of radioactive, highly aggressive spiders. Peter stumbles and falls directly into the glowing vat of bugs. Instead of giving him cool superpowers, the hungry swarm eats him alive in just a few short seconds. They chew through his skin, his muscles, and his bones until nothing is left. But wait, here comes the crazy plot twist. The intense radiation causes the spiders to absorb Peter's mind, memories, and personality. The entire spider swarm forms a giant hive mind that actually believes it is the real Peter Parker. To walk around in public without scaring anyone, the bugs pack themselves super tight inside the red and blue suit. The tight cloth keeps all those little squirming little bodies from dropping onto the floor. But do not expect this guy to save your cat from a high tree. This swarm lacks any real human feelings, operating purely on cold bug logic. What makes it even crazier is how these spiders attack their victims. They can easily slide under locked doors, crawl right down your throat to choke you, and eat your body down to the bone. Honestly, getting a regular parking ticket sounds a lot better than dealing with a living bag of bugs. Spider Goblin. Sometimes the absolute worst monster is just the main guy having a really bad day. Down on the main Earth 616 comic line, Spider Goblin shows us what happens when Peter Parker completely loses his mind. It all starts when Sin Eater cleanses Norman Osborn of his evil personality, dropping all that dark juice in a magical jar. Kraven the Hunter steals the evil energy because he wants to bring back the Green Goblin. Kraven rubs the dark juice on a big spear and stabs Peter straight through the chest. The evil essence instantly destroys Peter's normal rules, exploding his secret anger and bad memories. He throws away his classic costume and puts on a spooky dark suit and starts calling himself the Spider Goblin. He steals Norman's famous flying glider and starts throwing pumpkin bombs everywhere like a total maniac. Without his big sense of responsibility holding him back, Peter turns into a mean bully with super strength. He hunts down Kraven first, beating him up in the most painful ways possible. Even worse, his broken mind turns against his very best friends in the city. He starts stalking Mary Jane Watson and her new boyfriend Paul, wanting to get payback for his broken heart. He almost finishes them off before Norman Osborn flies in to stop the crazy beatdown. Talk about a crazy role reversal where the Goblin has to save people from Spider-Man. That's definitely one awkward story to explain to the Avengers later at the team meeting. You really know you messed up when your biggest enemy becomes your personal anger manager. The Spider. Imagine if Peter Parker skipped the hero phase entirely and went straight to extreme villainy. Over on Earth 15, this alternate Peter was already a violent serial killer way before he ever got any fancy superpowers. The authorities finally caught him and gave him 67 life sentences in a high-security prison. But his killer career was far from over. A weird cosmic group called the Time Broker picked him up for Weapon X, a dirty Black Ops team jumping across different realities. Then things got even worse when he bonded permanently with his universe's version of the Carnage alien symbiote. The Red Monster loved his mean personality, giving him super strength and sharp red blades coming out of his skin. Calling himself simply the Spider, he traveled through time blowing up stuff and ruining happy realities. He constantly cracked awful jokes while tearing apart innocent civilians and alternate heroes. But the crazy part is how much fun he had while being totally terrible. He did not have a bad backstory or a tragic goal. He just genuinely loved causing absolute chaos wherever he went. He traded total destruction like a super fun weekend hobby. His terrible streak finally ran out when Firestar burned him to death. The Spider got melted into tiny little ashes in a matter of seconds. Turns out that bringing a red symbiote to a giant laser fight is a terrible life choice. Pestilence. Who needs a friendly neighbor when you can have a giant bug that spreads dangerous global diseases? On the ruined world of Earth 5701, the old mutant boss Apocalypse took over the whole planet and crushed every single hero. He grabbed Peter Parker and put him through painful lab tests to rewrite his spider DNA completely. The brainwashing erased Peter's nice personality and turned him into Pestilence, one of the famous Four Horsemen. His body changed into a total nightmare. He grew 2 extra arms out of his ribs, giving him a full set of weird 6 limbs. Massive yellow fangs stuck out of his mouth, constantly dripping bad poison into his dark armor. He completely stopped cracking jokes or caring about regular people, becoming a creepy silent servant for his mutant master. What's worse, his main job was creating giant clouds of flesh-eating viruses to wipe out huge cities. He flew around dropping biological bombs on anyone Apocalypse did not like. During a wild time travel adventure, he fought against the mercenaries Cable and Deadpool in a crazy battle to control the future timeline. He didn't care about saving the day, he just wanted to spread bugs everywhere. Imagine swapping out your web shooters for a giant bottle of pure toxic waste. Really makes you appreciate the simple days when Peter just took blurry pictures for the local newspaper. Man Spider. Did you know the main Peter Parker carries a massive monster inside his own DNA? On Earth 616, the Man Spider is not some weird guy from a parallel universe, but a terrible transformation hiding deep inside Peter's body. The whole disaster starts when Peter drinks a weird chemical mix to get rid of his spider powers forever. The liquid backfires completely, making his body mutate way faster than normal. He grows 4 extra limbs first, which makes him start buying shirts totally impossible. Later on, Magneto and Brainchild capture him in the Savage Land and mess with his genetic code even more. His human skin peels off and gross brown hair covers his entire body from head to toe. His handsome face transforms into a multi-eyed spider head with sharp mandibles that constantly leak dangerous sticky drool. As the giant man spider, Peter completely loses his human brain, his speech, and his normal sense of right and wrong. He acts like a hungry animal hunting down anything that moves in his sight. His strength goes through the roof, and he shoots sticky webs directly out of his wrists like a natural bug. He can't tell the difference between a dangerous supervillain and his best friends from high school. Everyone just looks like a tasty mid-afternoon snack to his crazy bug eyes. You really know your science project failed when you turn into the exact thing you use bug spray on. Ghost Spider. What happens when Uncle Ben gives really terrible advice to a superpowered kid? On Earth 11638, Uncle Ben survives the thief attack and tells young Peter to use his powers to get super rich. They create a big company called Parker Technologies, turning Peter into a billionaire hero called the Amazing Spider. But behind his big shiny suit, Peter hides a super dark evil secret. He uses special gadgets to kidnap alternate Spider-Mans from other realities, stealing their life energy to make himself stronger. The main Earth 616 Peter gets dragged into this reality and finds out about the Dark Farm system. They fight inside the high-tech lab, and the bad Peter gets knocked directly into a broken dimensional portal. His body explodes and his sinful soul drops straight down into hell. He suffers in the dark pit for a long time until Bruce Banner, the Sorcerer Supreme, finally finds his soul. Banner uses magic to bond Peter with the Spirit of Vengeance, pulling him out of hell as the new Ghost Spider. He now has a flaming skull, magic chains, and a giant desire to fix his old mistakes. He spends his days fighting dark demons instead of taking nice photos for magazines. Stealing power from your alternate selves really comes back to bite you in the end. At least you never have to worry about paying for a light bulb ever again. Assassin Spider-Man. What if Peter Parker traded his strict no-kill rule for a pair of high-powered sniper rifles? Over on Earth 835-1, Peter goes on a dangerous secret mission to Russia alongside the wild mutant Wolverine. In the normal universe, Peter gets super sad after a spy dies accidentally, promising to never end another life. But on this dark Earth, Peter stays behind in the cold snow to learn real spy skills from Logan. The super tough training hardens his mind completely, making him realize that some villains just need to be put down permanently. He wears a slick black and red suit, working as a high-priced killer for secret government groups. His web shooters get a huge upgrade, firing real metal bullets alongside his sticky strings. What makes it even crazier is how his danger sense evolves through his crazy combat training. His spider sense allows him to see several seconds into the future before an enemy even pulls the trigger. He dodges heavy machine gun fire effortlessly and shoots people right between the eyes without missing a single shot. He feels zero regret about using deadly weapons on bad guys who try to hurt regular citizens. Uncle Ben's famous speech about great power gets completely rewritten into a manual for professional hitmen. Turns out that dodging bullets is much easier when you're the guy firing them first. Spider X. Can a dark magical book turn a good kid into a horrifying monster? Over on the main Earth 616 reality, Spider X starts out as a poor, sad boy named Brian Cornfield. Some mean street thugs attack Brian and hurt his innocent mother really badly in the dark alley. Brian desperately wants revenge and the power to protect good people from bad criminals. A creepy little dwarf shows up and hands him the Darkhold, an ancient book full of dark magic written by a bad god named Chthon. Brian asks the magic book to turn him into a big hero, just like Spider-Man. But the dark magic twists his wish into a complete nightmare. Brian transforms into Spider X, a giant bug demon covered in sharp spikes and gross dark scales. He gets 6 big arms, sharp claws, and a huge mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. Instead of normal webbing, his body produces burning acid that melts right through metal walls and human skin. The dark spell drives him completely crazy, turning him into a wild vigilante who rips street criminals into tiny pieces. He runs around the city causing absolute carnage until he gets knocked out for good at the end of the story. Asking for a dark magic book for superpowers is definitely worse than just getting bit by a simple bug. Next time you want to be a superhero, maybe stick to doing push-ups instead. Darkhold Defiled Spider-Man. Have you ever tried using sticky tape to fix a massive crumbling skyscraper? It doesn't work very well, but this poor guy tried something way worse. Down on the main Earth 616 universe, the Darkhold Defiled Spider-Man shows us what happens when reading books totally ruins your afternoon. Similar to the previous Spider Guy, the ancient dark guy Cthon tried to invade Earth, so Peter Parker volunteered to read a cursed magic book called the Darkhold to build some cool magic armor. That turned out to be a massive mistake. The dark magic shattered his mind into a tiny million pieces, trapping his brain in a creepy nightmare world where New York City was constantly falling into a dark void. Driven totally crazy by the spooky images, Peter tried to use his webs to pull the falling buildings back together. What makes it even crazier is that his body ran out of normal web fluid almost instantly. So he started ripping out long strings of his own bloody flesh and muscle to tie the rotten buildings together. He even wrapped up scared citizens in these gross meat webs, forcing them to stay trapped inside his melting city forever. He literally gave up his own body to keep his imaginary home from falling apart. Talk about taking the concept of sticky hands way too far. Next time you see dark magic book lying around on the table, maybe just pick up a nice comic book instead. Spider lizard. What's worse than a giant green lizard chasing you down a dark hallway? A giant green lizard that can also jump on the ceiling at maximum speed. Over on the main Earth 616 storyline, Peter Parker gets into a massive brawl with Dr. Kirk Connors deep inside the Dark City sewers. During a splashy fight, Peter accidentally swallows a giant dose of the experimental lizard formula straight into his blood. His spider-infused DNA completely freaks out, mixing the bug genes with raw reptile science. Instead of just growing a small green tail, Peter turns into a giant cold-blooded monster with zero human feelings left. His nice skin turns into hard green scales, and his jaw stretches out into a long snout packed with razor-sharp teeth. He completely forgets about his old hero job and starts lurking in the dark sewer pipes beneath the city streets. Driven by basic animal instincts, he treats regular city folks like tasty appetizers, waiting to be munched on. He uses his wild agility and crazy strength to crush anyone who drops down the manhole cover. His old moral code disappears completely, replaced by the simple desire to eat fresh meat. Turns out that mixing spiders and lizards in a lab shaker gives you the ultimate sewer monster. Someone really needs to leave a giant box of mints in those pipes to fix that terrifying reptile breath. Superior Spider-Man. How would you like it if your worst enemy stole your entire life and then claimed he was much better at it than you? That exact nightmare happened on Earth 616 when the dying villain Dr. Octopus pulled off a crazy brain swap trick. Using a tiny custom robot, Otto Octavius forced his own brain into Peter Parker's healthy body, pushing Peter's soul into a decaying, dying frame. Peter's original body died shortly after, leaving Otto fully in control of the famous Spider-Man identity. Driven by his giant ego, Otto decided to become a hero, calling himself the Superior Spider-Man. But his idea of stopping crime was super dark, mean, and totally control-obsessed. He built thousands of armed spider bots to spy on every single living person in New York City. When he fought classic bad guys, he didn't bother with funny jokes or small web traps. He punched Scorpion's jaw right off his face and shot the villain Massacre in cold blood with a heavy gun. He totally ruined Peter's personal life, making all his friends think he had turned into a massive jerk. Seeing a beloved hero act like a complete bully was totally chilling for everyone watching. Otto really proved that having a giant brain does not mean you know how to be a nice person. Last Stand Spider-Man. What happens when the good guy finally decides that he's completely done taking the high road? Over on Earth 312500, we meet an older, extremely grumpy version of Peter Parker who totally snapped under all his heavy stress. His complete breaking point happened during a super brutal fight with Kraven the Hunter. Tired of bad guys constantly hurting innocent people, Peter made the dark choice to kill Kraven right on the spot. That single bad decision broke his strict moral rule and sent him sliding down a super violent path. He threw away his colorful classic outfit to put on a dark leather jacket with heavy black pants to match his grumpy mood. For many long years, he hunted down all his classic villains and put them 6 feet under. His extreme violence made the Avengers totally kick him off the team, leaving him completely alone in the world. His deeply sad story ended right in front of Aunt May's grave during a massive standoff with the police. Refusing to give up peacefully, he charged directly into a heavy wall of flying police bullets. He basically picked a violent end instead of spending the rest of his life sitting inside a dark prison cell. That is definitely the most depressing way to finish a long career as a neighborhood hero. Punisher Spider-Man. What if Peter Parker skipped the whole moral lesson and went straight for full revenge mode? On Earth 71298, the famous night Uncle Ben died turned out to be completely different. When Peter caught the scared burglar inside the dark warehouse, he did not just tie him up with a web for the cops to find. Instead, he grabbed the killer's heavy gun and blasted him right between the eyes. That single shot ruined his original hero rules forever, blending Spider-Man's powers with the violent style of the Punisher. He repainted his classic suit to feature a massive white skull right across the chest. He threw away his sticky web fluid and loaded his wrist launchers with real heavy bullets that punch right through thick metal. He hunted down bad guys like a tactical hitman, shooting Green Goblin out of the sky without missing a beat. He ended Dr. Octopus in public and wiped out the entire Sinister Six with heavy weapons. His dark journey left behind a giant trail of bullet-filled villains all across the city's streets. He proved that giving high-caliber weapons to a super-agile bug hero is a terrible recipe for peace. You definitely do not want to cross a guy who trades sticky webs for high-power explosive shells. Spider Doppelganger. Who invited the six-armed demon bug to the family picnic? Born during the massive Infinity War event on Earth 616, the Spider Doppelganger was created by an evil cosmic villain named the Magus. The bad guy wanted a gross, twisted mirror version of Spider-Man to cause total destruction on Earth. The creature turned out to be an absolute biological nightmare with 6 giant arms ending in super sharp claws. Its ugly face had a massive mouth full of pointy teeth and creepy black eyes that possessed zero human feelings. It could not talk, think, or make smart jokes, acting purely like a wild, hungry animal hunting for meat. Instead of normal synthetic webs, it shot biological strings made of sharp wire that sliced right through human skin. After the big cosmic war ended, the ugly bug got stuck on Earth with nowhere to go. During the Maximum Carnage story, it joined up with the serial killer Carnage and his crazy girlfriend Shriek like the loyal attack dog. It jumped around New York City tearing regular citizens to pieces with its razor-sharp claws. It showed everybody what happens when you strip away the heart and mind of a superhero's body. Honestly, that thing's desperately needing a giant bottle of nail clippers and a very long nap. Poison Spider-Man. Imagine if your dark space alien stole your entire body and used it as a wooden dummy to trick your best friends. On Earth 17952, during the Wild Venomverse event, Peter Parker was still wearing his classic black alien symbiote suit. Suddenly, a creepy crystalline alien species called the Poisons jumped out from the dark shadows to hunt him down. These scary parasites look specifically for symbiote hosts, so they can eat them up and take over their bodies forever. The transformation process was super painful, gross, and totally impossible to stop once it started. The crystal bug ate both Peter and his alien suit at the exact same time, fusing them into a hard white armored living weapon. The absolute worst part of this deal is that Peter Parker is completely dead inside that white shell. His mind, soul, and feelings were erased, leaving a totally blank slate behind. The cold poison bug just uses his dead body like a stolen car, checking his old memories only to trick other multiverse heroes. It flies around different worlds as a mind-controlled soldier, eliminating entire realities without feeling a single shred of guilt. Seeing a hero's empty shell used to destroy innocent worlds is totally heartbreaking to watch. It really sucks when your cool alien suit gets eaten by an even meaner alien bug from space. Dark Spider-Man. What happens when the federal government gives a crazy bad guy a famous superhero suit and total protection? During the Dark Reign story over on Earth 616, the evil Norman Osborn took charge of national security and created his own fake Avengers team. To mock the real web-slinger, Norman hired a violent villain named Mac Gargan, who was currently wearing the Heavy Venom symbiote. Norman gave Gargan special chemical pills that shrank the big black monster down to a sleek classic Spider-Man suit. Gargan walked around in broad daylight pretending to be a friendly neighborhood hero while committing terrible crimes behind closed doors. Gargan had zero moral rules, deeply loving violence and snacking on regular people whenever he got hungry. During heavy fights, he would let giant symbiote jaws pop out of his chest to bite off arms and swallow enemies whole. Regular citizens thought their favorite hero was helping them, totally unaware that he was eating bad guys behind the building. Using a trusted symbol of hope to hide a flesh-eating monster is an absolute nightmare move by the government. It totally ruined Spider-Man's good name across the whole city for a very long time. You know things are bad when the local hero starts looking at criminals like a fresh bucket of fried chicken. The Blood Spider. Can a corrupt company pay enough money to build a bootleg version of a famous superhero? Down on Earth 616, a cold mercenary named Michael Bingham proved that you could buy almost anything if your wallet's thick enough. A shady crime group wanted their own personal assassin with spider moves, so they hired the deadly Taskmaster to train Bingham. Taskmaster used his special photographic memory to teach Bingham every single move, flip, and punch used by the real Spider-Man. Bingham put on a dark, heavily armored version of the classic suit and started calling himself the Blood Spider. But unlike Peter Parker, Bingham did not care about saving little kids or stopping bank robberies at all. He used his super agility and mirrored fighting skills strictly to execute high-paying assassination jobs for evil bosses. He carried modified deadly webbing and acted with total cruelty, snapping necks and blasting targets without blinking an eye. Watching a guy use iconic acrobatic moves to perform dirty hits is totally wild and super unsettling. He showed everyone what Peter Parker might have become if he cared more about fat stacks of cash than basic human kindness. Really goes to show that fancy knockoff suits never come with a built-in moral heart. Spider-Man Noir. What if Spider-Man lived in the dark 1930s movie full of heavy rain, trench coats, and dirty mob bosses? Over on Earth 90214, young Peter Parker grows up as a super angry reporter during the dark times of the Great Depression. His beloved Uncle Ben was brutally killed and eaten by a creepy mob enforcer known as the Vulture. Peter gets bitten by an ancient magic spider hidden inside a stolen statue, giving him strange dark bug powers from an old spider god. But instead of wearing bright spandex, this gritty version suits up in his dead uncle's dark World War I pilot uniform. He carries a pair of heavy revolvers and wages a super violent war against Norman Osborn's crime syndicate and local Nazi sympathizers. He stays hidden in the black shadows using harsh physical interrogation and real lead bullets to wipe out evil bosses who bully the poor working class. He doesn't care about making funny jokes or catching bad guys in soft, sticky nets. He just wants total payback for his family. His dark style brings a whole new meaning to the idea of old school street justice. You definitely do not want to meet a trenchcoat wearing web slinger in a dark, rainy alley at 2 in the morning. Well, that's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers and see you in the next one.